That's cool. Real quick. So how's it going?
It's going good.
So yesterday we met. We talked about goals. So we decided on a goal kind of around involving relationships and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna find my paper instead of fumbling for my paper.
Okay.
Maybe I can find my paper. I'm just gonna do 47 minutes of this.
Okay. Let's stop the timer for now.
Good call. It's not this one. Okay. So, goals wise, talked about decreasing feelings of depression by connecting with the family on a more regular basis, and I think that was mostly connecting with mom, right? Okay. And then you said you've got at least like good beginnings with a friendship group here, but just like pulling those people out into settings where you can actually like do stuff,
Yeah.
more or less, and then that kind of plays into the next goal, which is increase personal health. So by increasing those activities, that's a good thing. And then working on like, we didn't really like put a hard definition on this yesterday, but like something around eating habits, because you kind of mentioned like under times of stress or when things aren't going well, the eating habits kind of go out the window.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So, I mean, we just met and talked about this yesterday, but have you thought any more about this?
I haven't really given it much thought, honestly. I'm a little busy, so.
Sure. Yeah, we've been a little slammed.
Yeah.
Class and stuff. So I guess just in general, how are things going right now?
Going pretty good. Can't really complain. I'm burned out from school. I'm completely burned out. Just pushing through. Just had my birthday, just turned 26, and gonna go do stuff tonight with friends.
Also, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Well, good. So you're kind of getting out there doing stuff, but still, I mean, you said it straight out, you're burnt out.
Yeah. Very much so. I mean, started the grad program, we did fall semester, got a break, went home, that was nice. And then spring semester came around, which was a really hard semester. And during that time, I went into a pretty dark depression. So I struggled with classes a lot. Managed to pull through, but it was rough. And then I was expecting a break between spring and summer, but there was no break. And so going from that really rough semester with the depression, the grades, the workload, straight into another semester, and then I had a little bit of like a career panic attack. Really a panic attack, panic week. Because before I was a counselor, I was, my undergrad was computer science. And I quit the computer science department because of a professor who told me what I wanted to do with computer science was a dead field. So I dropped the program. I mean, I was getting great grades, 3.5s were my low end of my grades. And then about a year later, there was like huge advancements in artificial intelligence, which is what I wanted to do. Like glorious advancements. And so that's always been like a little part of regret for me. And going through the career class and thinking about all the stuff that formed your career and what you identified career to be was something that kind of brought up all that stuff again. So that was that stressor, and then had 4 days, now we're into this semester, And so it's just like at this point, I'm just so done with school. I need a break. I need my summer. I need to go down to California with some friends. Just relax for 2 weeks. Come home, do nothing for like a month.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're feeling really just everything's pushed together and not able to take a break from it.
No, taking a break means I fail, so can't.
Sure.
I mean, I've been procrastinating really hard this semester, and it means everything's starting to stack up with classes coming to an end. So.
And it's probably, I would guess that those feelings are kind of amplified because the semester itself is more compressed and pressed together.
Yep.
You don't have that lag time. So you mentioned last semester, you mentioned kind of feeling some depression.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Where did that come from?
I've had issues with depression for years now. Back in '07 is when I first started. But with the semester being so stressful, the support that I had here kind of faltered because they were all stressed too.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that they needed, instead of hanging out as much, they needed to buckle down and do their homework, or they were going home for the weekends to go see their family.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, I guess it was selfish in a sense, but I always was a little jaded when people went home because it's something I wish I could do. It'd be nice to go see my family.
Sure.
But I can't. And so they were going home, and they have their friends that they can rely on, and I didn't have that. And since they were busy, I couldn't, like, hey, let's go to a movie, because none of us really had time to go to a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of made things rough.
So your support system it needed to go support itself, so
Yeah.
it took off on you. That's tough. So you also mentioned with, and maybe I'm inferring this a little bit, but you're kind of running into the same stuff this semester, which is kind of feeling more or less up against it.
It's different because the workload for this semester isn't nearly as intense.
Mm-hmm.
Actually kind of feels a little easy, other than just everything's due quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that I would rely on are much more willing to do stuff because it's done. But it's just having gone almost a full year of school, almost nonstop, with only one real break is just like.
It's just getting to be a bit much.
I really needed, I just needed 1 week between the spring and summer semester. It would have been fine. Took me that week to do nothing, but we got 4 days.
So that's just not cutting it at this point. So what, I can't remember the question I was going to ask you. More on you mentioned the feelings of depression again. What do you think, how do you think that's going to translate into the coming semesters? Do you think that's going to continue to be a concern, or?
I don't think so as much. I've talked to the people that I consider my support network here about what's going on. They understand, and with the hardest semester being behind us,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be that same pressure for everyone to cut back on their social life and to do only homework.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it'll be much of an issue in the coming semesters. Burnout might still be a thing because I have another summer to go, but I don't think the depression will be an issue.
Okay, so more just concerned about when am I going to get that break?
Yeah. At this point, I'm just pushing through for another month.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in a month I'll be good.
So you have, this class ends end of this month, end of June.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a July class as well?
No.
So you'll have a bit of time in there to.
I'll get like a month and a half or 2 months, something like that.
Well, and I think that I don't know if you mentioned it during the intake or not, but you mentioned having some time to go home and visit family, or out to California. Or?
I'm going down to July, like mid-July, going to California. My half sister is there and a bunch of my friends. So I'm not gonna see most of my family. Like I won't see my mom or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
I will had the opportunity to go do stuff.
So you kind of got a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yes, that's the light I'm chasing. Everything is about that light.
Sure. So you mentioned as well having kind of I don't remember how you put it, not a panic attack, a panic week about regarding career.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what's going on there?
When I first started my undergrad, I was at a community college. I tested the waters in a lot of things. I tried this, that, the other thing. I would take some classes and I would either just like straight up fail them like super hard and be like, wow, this really isn't curriculum for me because I don't get it. I don't want to learn it. I don't care. And there are other things I try and I do fine in, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't want to keep doing it. So I jumped around. I think I switched my major like 5 times. And that was switching majors was never an issue. But for me, with computer science, that was the major switch that actually mattered because I didn't quit because I didn't like the program. I didn't quit because I wasn't good at it. I quit because I trusted a professor. Mm-hmm. And he had 30 years of experience in my field, and so I thought he was a reliable source. And so I quit the program. But he wasn't. He was very wrong. He was so wrong. And so it's always wondered, like, should I have quit? Where would I be right now if I didn't? It's like, well, first of all, I already have my bachelor's. There would be no grad program. Because computer science, you don't do grad work. I mean, if you want to teach, you do. But I wouldn't want to teach. I'd want to work in the field. So would I be doing something? Well, I'd be doing something completely different because computer science and counseling, working with computers, working with people, pretty separate. Mm-hmm. So I'd be doing something completely different in a different field. I might be working somewhere I would love. Like, who's had a soft spot in my heart for like video game companies? Because I'm a gamer, I'm a nerd. I would love to do that. That would be like a great dream goal. Mm-hmm. So having the idea of working towards that was always something that pushed me. But I mean, I wouldn't work there right now. There's not a chance I'd get into the gaming industry this early. That's after 10 years of experience. But just kind of where my life would be right now.
So you're kind of having feelings of regret?
Oh yeah, pretty much. That's the entire computer science degree is all regret.
Mm-hmm. How does that? Well, first of all, let me ask you this: at what point did you? Because the computer field and the counseling field are very different from one another. Mm-hmm. So, where did that turning point come from that you decided to get into counseling instead?
When I dropped computer science, I switched to biology because early in my undergrad, I was thinking about being a nurse and then eventually becoming a physician assistant. Part of me thought med school, but I was like, that's so much money, I can't afford that. Mm-hmm. Do nursing, I mean, not nearly as glorious, but it's the same type of work, same field. And so I switched back to, because I did great in bio and chem prep, so I switched to those. The problem is the chemistry department at my university was intense. You had to go into the classes already knowing the material because they didn't teach the material. They refreshed the material and said go. Because the way the course is actually set up, there's the chem series, but there's actually a chem prep course, which is essentially required. Because if you haven't taken the chem prep course, the chances of you passing just Gen Chem is not likely at all. And I genuinely tried in that course. I mean, I didn't put in the same effort I'm putting in grad school, but I put in a lot of work, and I zeroed that course. Like, this is the only time I've ever tried and zeroed a course. It was impressive. And because I've never been great at chemistry, I love biology. Biology's great. I love biology. Looking at things under microscopes is so cool. And like, I actually had to sacrifice my biology grade to try and salvage my chem class, and sacrificing my bio grade put me in a 3-2. So biology was always good for me, but I switched to that, failed. I was like, okay, I can't do this field because you have like 2 full years of chemistry with additional coursework. So the field wasn't for me, and so I was like, well, what am I gonna do? I could do accounting. That's what I got admitted to my university for, but that strikes. I'm good at it, but there's no interest. That is so boring. I mean, I can do friggin' mortgage rate calculations and help you save like tens of thousands of dollars on your mortgage and pay it off faster, but that's not fun. I don't want to do that for my life. And so I started thinking about courses that I've taken that interest me. And at my community college, I took some psychology courses. I'm like, sure, I'll become a psych major. And then so I became psych, and I did great. I 3.5 to 4.0 most of my classes, and well, 3.3 to 4.0 rather. And then I was like, hey, I have a psych degree. What now? Well, what do I want to do with psychology? Part of me is thinking PhD research kind of thing, but my cumulative average is barely a 2.0 because I tested a lot of things out. I did firefighting, I did freaking astronomy, went everywhere. It was interesting. Pretty wide knowledge base. But so I was like, well, what can I do? So I looked at master's program. Like, well, I can't do any like teaching or research at the master's level. You can do adjunct work, but so what am I gonna do? I'm like, well, counseling. That's a psychology option. And I was thinking, would counseling work for me? And I have the personality that worked with counseling. Always been a people person, good at listening, understanding what people mean, what more than what they're saying. I was like, okay. Well, I did take like 2 intro courses to psych. One was like just intro to psych, one was like counseling practice kind of stuff, and I was good at it. So applied to the program, got accepted. Here I am.
All right. So this was. It sounds like this was one good option among many.
It was a good option. Well, there were many options, but it was the only good one.
Okay.
Because I had other options, but even if I was good at them, I didn't want to do them. Like accounting. Good at it, don't want it.
So this appeals to you on many different levels.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what I was thinking back in the first place, but back to you spoke about regret over leaving computer science. Do you think that, and anyways, do you think that that would have, like the field as a whole would have fit you in the way that counseling, what you're pursuing now, how that fits you?
They are very separate fields that both appeal to different natures of me. Like for instance, computer science is all about creation. You start out with a blank screen, you fill it with code. You problem solve. You try and figure out the answer. You use all those solutions that you've built to develop a program, develop a game, develop an application, something. You see a finished product. And then you move on. Counseling, you're working with people. There's a lot of ambiguity. A lot of times you don't see the finished product. You may do a lot of work and get no results, but you're helping people. So with counseling, I get to help people. I get to be a little more creative. I get to interpret things. With computer science, I get to create something from nothing. I get to see a finished product. I get to find the answer. So they both would be very satisfying, but for completely different reasons. There's like almost no overlap.
Right. So you get, with that, you get it sounds like computer science would be very, very cut and dried.
Yep.
This is what I need to do, this is what I did. Yep. Whereas with counseling, there is all of that gray area and all the different little rabbit holes you can go down, and there's not really right or wrong answers.
Correct.
So I guess I don't have a line of questioning I want to follow with that. I wonder, in what ways does that bother you? That or not bothers you. How do you get that other side? That do you miss that black and white? I'm just gonna ask you 15 different questions. With the black and white aspects and the counseling aspects, it's very not black and white. Those are very divergent, very different from one another. How do you? Well, first of all, do you feel like you need that black and white area in your life?
Partially, yes. Because the thing I loved about computer science was creating. Because you start from nothing, you finish it. It's done. It's something, like I made a game. It was a little text-based game. You moved around a little map and you picked up things and you made your way to the exit. And I made that all on my own. It was finished. I could send it to a friend. They could play the game. It was not necessarily a material thing, because it's code, but it was something that I created. It was an object, and that's something I do miss, which is part of the reason why I regret it, because I don't get that anymore. It's not a part of my life.
Would you like for that to still be a part of your life?
Yeah.
Do you think that in your setting right now, kind of where you've landed, are there ways of finding that, getting that?
I actually came to a conclusion at the end of my career class. I do have to pursue computer science. But the thing with computer science is it is the most artsy degree of the hard sciences. Because no company gives a damn about the piece of paper that you have. Because that means you have a piece of paper. That's great for you. What they care about is what you've done. Your art, essentially, it's your artwork portfolio. So I don't need to go to school to get a degree, as long as I can teach myself the code, learn to do all the stuff, and make my own programs. And then I can be like, this is what I know, and show them the physical product.
So you're kind of reconciling. I know what I want it to sound like. I don't know what it's going to sound like, though. You've had a lot of different thoughts and a lot of different explorations of, what the heck do I want to do in your journey throughout, undergrad or whatever. And then you kind of landed here with counseling, but that hasn't been enough. You need that, and I get that. Like you want things to have like certain aspects of your life you'd like to be able to, and maybe I'm getting this wrong. You want things to be more cut and dried in certain aspects.
I think it's more I just want there to be a finish. Like, point at one thing and be like, that's done.
Okay.
You can go back to that later, I can look at it, I can play with it. But like when you work with in counseling, you can't just like walk up to a client and be like, I fixed you. You are good. You are a perfect human because of me.
So it sounds like you're kind of shooting towards a goal where you can reconcile those two sides of yourself. Okay. What do you see that looking like?
I see that being me picking up programming as a hobby, learning it in my free time, because I'll have a little more free time in the next year. During summer, I'm going to have a lot of free time. So picking up some coding again, doing that kind of stuff, while still working on my degree as a counselor.
Okay.
And then when I graduate, probably get a job as a counselor, still do some coding and stuff, like use that as my self-care after work. And maybe down the road, if I get a job as a programmer, I get a job as a programmer. If I stay a counselor, well, I can still program for myself.
At this point in time, do you think that would be a goal area that you'd like to look at right now? Adding something with, maybe not necessarily with programming, but it sounds like for you it's more about having that finish, getting something done instead of all this like heady.
Right now, I don't think I need to worry about it because I kind of get the whole completion thing with homework. Write a paper.
Right.
The paper's done. Once I turn that paper in, it doesn't matter how much more stuff I want to throw in, fix, change. It's done. It is a complete product. I can point at the paper and be, that's my paper.
All right.
So it gives me that outlet for now. But like when I'm in the field, and as a master's level clinician, you're not really expected to research. You can if you want, but it's not expected. So you have a career just counseling. There will be no finishes. And paperwork is like the lamest answer for a finish ever.
Sure. All right. So do you think that at this point in time right now, do you feel pretty whole? Like as far as the things that you need or the things that you want out of your life?
In terms of career, I could say yes. There's still things I want in my life that I don't have.
Okay, such as?
Just relationships, stronger friends, closer, girlfriend, that whole the whole social avenue of life.
Okay. And we have a goal for that. We discussed that. So you mentioned friendships. You mentioned a girlfriend. What's I'm getting lost here. What's short term? What's the biggest priority for you?
Short term?
Yeah.
Hanging out with friends.
Okay.
I mean, if we're talking like short term, just getting through the semester. Get through the semester, good, we'll be fine.
Sure, but you want, is it the self-care aspect of that, or of friendships?
For the friendships, it's just having like a social network. Instead of, like during the summer, if I'm not doing stuff with friends, it will literally be wake up, play video games, take a shower, eat some food, play video games, eat dinner, play video games, go to bed. That will literally be my entire summer if I don't do stuff with friends. Because I've done it before. It's not fun. It gets old.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, that's the goal.
Okay. We talked about that for goals, so I want to get away from that. But I don't know where to go from here. I wish I had like interlude music. Do do do. Is it time? So let's shift gears here. One of the goals you want to work on is, well, family and friends back home connections. But let's talk about the family connection. You mentioned mom as a strong relationship. What other family relationships do you consider kind of primary?
Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa.
Okay, so you're close to all those guys?
Closer to some than others, but yeah.
Okay. At this point in time, what's your frequency amount of communication?
Mom, once every couple weeks. Dad, once every couple months. Same with grandparents.
Okay. Do you think that's sufficient?
Kind of. The issue is I don't take a lot from phone conversations. Like, they're nice, they're nice little things, but I'd much rather spend time with them.
Okay. So you'd rather be in person with someone. The phone conversation, it sounds like, is just kind of superficial.
Yeah. Like, if I had the option, I would much rather go to the mall with my mom than talk on the phone. Because talk on the phone's boring. Tell about what you did, then you're like, okay, well, bye. Compared to like going to the mall where you do stuff.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds like that's not really an option.
Not at all.
Okay. Is there any in between with that? Like you said, phone calls suck. Basically, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what it sounds like. Phone calls suck, and the in-person time is ideal. Like, is there any middle ground there, or?
Not really. The issue is like my friends down in California. They don't like just sitting there and talking to them on Skype, but we play games together, so we're doing something. While we're not in person, it's still an activity.
Gotcha.
But I don't really have any internet activity that I can do with my family because they don't do stuff like that. It's not that.
Are there any other activities like that you've ever done? Like, I can't think of an example like comparable to doing an online game with someone.
In terms of like that middle ground where it's distance but an activity,
Yeah.
All I can think of is like a game.
Yeah. I don't know, it'd be interesting to think about if there were. I don't know. I can't think of anything like something you could do by mail or something like that.
None that I know of, at least.
Do you think that with your family members do you think that their communication with you, do you think that that feels sufficient for them?
Dad and grandparents, yes. Mom, she's starting to get there. She's starting to accept that I'm a 26-year-old male who moved away from home. I mean, something both of us are working on. It's like, the truth is, we're not really going to talk that much. We're not going to hang out because I'm probably never moving back to Washington. And she's probably going to stay in Washington, so solid chance I won't be seeing my mom much anymore.
That's a big change.
Yeah, very much.
And you were in Washington up until this school year started, is that correct?
Correct.
So that's a huge change. That's your whole life up till now.
I mean, technically I lived in Alaska for 4 years, but I don't remember anything about Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Which is why last semester when things got really hard, it was extra hard because like new
Sure.
area, whole social network thing.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty large stressor to pile on top of that. Everything else and
Nope.
gotta do it with your mom.
Knowing that even if a desperate need arose, I could not be home in 24 hours.
It's scary.
It's interesting. I wouldn't say scary, a little depressing, but I wouldn't say scary.
Yeah. What other than, I mean, obviously there's the factor that you just have to pick a school somewhere. Was there something that drove you this way? Out to Iowa, I mean.
There was a girl that I dated in my undergrad who was from Iowa, which you can easily say I went way too crazy in that relationship. Like, I lost myself so hard. The whole reason I even found this place, I'm like, well, I know she was going to want to move back home. If I want the relationship to continue, I'd better find a school I can go to in Iowa. So yeah, the reason I found the school was because I lost myself in a relationship. I applied to other schools. I applied down to California, where my friends were. I applied down to Iowa because it just looked like a good program. And then I applied up in Washington, and the only one that accepted me was Iowa, so that's why I came. I mean, I looked at Wisconsin, I looked in the Dakotas, Nebraska, I looked Minnesota, I looked all over in this area. Not so much on the East Coast, I don't want the East Coast. West Coast is better, West Coast life.
I see. So, so that decision was driven by that relationship.
Initially, yeah. We broke up before I even applied, so at that point it was like, well, even though she's not a thing, it's still a really good program, so yeah.
Okay. So it was a choice of it's a good school.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you think that what do you think that relationship with mom is going to look like in the coming months and years? Because how much longer do you have within the program?
2 years.
Okay.
And then after that I gotta do 2 years of supervision work, so effectively 4 years left, so I'm free.
Okay. So that's a good chunk of time.
Yep.
So what do you see that relationship? Do you see it evolving and changing?
Probably talking less and less, and hopefully I'll get a once a year visit home.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
Fortunately, I don't really think there's much I can do. I can't really afford to go home more often. And again, neither one of us get a whole bunch out of phone conversations. We can check in every so often, but it's one of those things that at this stage of my life, it's not really something I can change. Well, technically I can change it, but that would require me to quit the program and go home. And I don't think I could put off my adult life to run back home to my mom.
Sure.
Like It's just something. I've hit a stage in my life. I have to just accept it.
You've made your decision and you're gonna see it through.
I mean, worst case scenario, I get my degree, I move back to Washington, get supervision there. But that's not gonna happen.
Alright. So you're kinda, I guess I see that as, that's kind of that's a noble pursuit. You know, you started a pursuit of whatever you want to call it, and you're going for it, you're finishing it.
Mm-hmm. Made the mistake of quitting once before, I'm not doing it again, so.
So that, I see that again as another area that you kinda reconcile. Like you mentioned all that regret having to do with your, the computer science thing, but it sounds like you're bringing those two needs, those two areas of your life together,
Doing
and
what I can.
kind of making it work.
I haven't been able to do any computer science work yet, but I'm hoping to do it this summer.
You have a plan in place.
Sure.
Okay. For next time, I'm wondering, I guess we didn't really get into self-care at all today, so next time I'd like to get a bit more into that. Yikes, okay. Well, I guess. Self-care. I'd like to talk more about, I guess, just what's going on in the here and now, and what, you know, your level of comfort with that, and what you can work towards to, just to kind of make the here and now better.
Okay.
Because what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is the long term, you don't have like a cut and dried, like this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen, but you have a good idea of where you want to go, and you're taking steps to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So what I see, and I want to check in with you and see what you think about this, but what I'm seeing is you've got your plan together, so you can have confidence in that and kind of rest assured in the fact that, you know, things are going to pan out long term, but your focus could go a little bit more towards what can I be doing in, you know, right here, right now, to make getting there more comfortable and more appealing.
Yeah.
Is that?
That's right.
Fair? Okay. So I think we should talk about some self-care stuff and just some strategies for, you know, making the uncomfortable stuff or the, you know, the hard class stuff coming up, making that a little bit more bearable.
Okay.
That work?
That works.
All right.
About 38 minutes.
I'll take it.